Buenos días. La agenda está cargadita y me acaba de dar Silvina a decirme un toque. Arranquemos porque de verdad tenemos un día muy importante, un día de encuentros, de conocimientos, de reflexiones y tenemos que arrancar. Quiero darle en nombre de la Red de Mujeres Latinoamericanas y del Caribe, de la Asociación Por Ti Mujer, de las entidades que nos han subvencionado esta propuesta, este proyecto, este foro, darles la bienvenida también a nuestra ciudad, Valencia, darles la bienvenida a este espacio de construcción colectiva también y un espacio donde estaremos en el día de hoy hasta las 6 de la tarde, desarrollando en las horas de la mañana 2 mesas interesantes en
interesting panels in the morning. You have the agenda in your bags. Our colleague Silvina will explain the framework of the project in which we are, the organizations who are participating. As the Network of Latin American Women, we have the privilege of being the representation in Spain. Thank you ever so much for thinking of us. And in the afternoon, we will have a last panel where we're going to be speaking about the best practices. This is a very important space for all women and for all the people, because based on these experiences, we can see other models of participation, we can get to know, we can learn that we have reached a country, we have brought lots of knowledge, of skills. Some of us have been leaders. Some of us have participated in youth movements, in political movements in our countries. And the migration process, on many occasions, what it does is it limits, in different ways, paralyzes us for some time. All this momentum we have is paralyzed when we get here. We want to recover this momentum and this knowledge we bring with us in this rucksack. This is done every 4 years, Forum of Political Participation of Women, Migrant Women. Each year we have a different main topic, depending on what's going on in the life of women migrants. Today we're going to talk about the right to participation from the point of view of human rights, from the point of view of an important participation of women, and also having an effect, an impact on the political world, bringing our interests to the political agenda and making sure that all migrant women can see that, yes, we can get there. Every year we invite women who are a part of the institutional world of politics, who are migrants, so that we can see how important it is to continue participating in organizations, in collectives, in many, many spaces, in the parents' association, in the school, in any place. But we should have our voices heard, because we are here to reach our goals, our targets, and in this process of empowerment, this is something that brings us together. This year we have selected a very important topic which has to do with political violence that is suffered by women, by leaders, women who are in institutional positions. And we're also going to work on the participation, on the voting, in the political participation. But before speaking, I want to dedicate this forum to pay tribute to all the people who were lost, all the victims of the Dana, who our heart really hurts for them. Tomorrow, a month has passed since the tragedy, and things are still really confusing, and we are in pain every day, thinking what may happen today. We want to pay tribute to these migrant women who have been lost, these migrant people who were lost in the Dana, and those that have been victims in different ways. The reconstruction, the rebuilding of our city or of our community will take years, but here we are responding as organizations, responding, seeing how as Solidarity City we are responding with solidarity, with friendship in our city. This is the beginning of the agenda. Besides presenting and welcoming you all, I want to tell you that we're going to have support from Europe and Brussels. We're going to have one person who has sent us a video. This person has been watching the progress of the organization in the last 15 years, and we thought it was wonderful. As being representatives of America and Europe, we thought it's very interesting to listen to her. Leire Pagin, who's the president of the Eurolac Foundation. Once I finish speaking, we will see the video where she welcomes us. She's been following this forum. She's been following the participation of women, of migrant women in local, national, and international politics. For us, as a Latin American network of women and the organization Por Ti Mujer, it is an honor to welcome her to this fourth forum of political participation of migrant women. Challenges for a plural Europe. Today we're meeting in a space that not only celebrates diversity and strength of our voices, but it also wants to foster an important change in institutional politics. The participation of women in politics is not only a right, it is also a necessity. Women provide unique perspectives that are valuable and enrich the political debate and contribute to the building of fairer and more inclusive societies. However, in spite of the progress we've made, we're still facing important barriers. And one of the topics that are most worrying is political violence, which is suffered by women who are in political positions. This violence could manifest itself in different ways, from verbal attacks, harassment, up to physical threats, and what's more difficult, the destruction of the professional and personal life. In Latin America, we have many years of experience on this, working on this topic. Many leaders, many women leaders have died, many women who have fought for human rights, who have fought. Our colleague Berta Cáceres, Mariel Franco, and the attacks that the President of Argentina received many years ago. But since 2015, this is based on something that's really important, which is the convention that speaks to us for the first time in 2015 in Chile. They tell us about the harassment that is suffered by women who are in the world of politics. And this defines violence and harassment in politics against women from a regional and international point of view. In Spain, we still haven't introduced this in the agenda. I think it's the time to speak out, to introduce this topic in the agenda, to start this process, because every day a woman is harassed, and little by little the situation has become normalized. And it's very important to take this into account, because maybe it's not you today, but you could be crucified in the future. And we must make sure that this is an important priority of the national agenda, political agenda. We want to point out the importance of the participation of migrant women in institutional politics. Migrant women bring a wealth of experiences, of cultural experiences, and knowledge that is essential for the development of politics, knowledge that reflect the reality of our communities. Their participation doesn't only enrich the political landscape, but it also guarantees that the needs and concerns of all parts of society are heard and taken into account. When migrant women participate actively in politics, tangible benefits are generated. Social cohesion is promoted and some new opportunities are opened. Politics that appear from a diverse representation are more effective and they respond better to the reality of the population. Besides this, the visibility of migrant women in politics could inspire other women to follow their steps, creating a virtuous circle of empowerment that could transcend the generations. In this forum, we have the opportunity of sharing experiences, and in the afternoon panel, we will be learning from each other and building support networks that strengthen a collective voice. We could commit ourselves to policies that not only promote gender equality, but also acknowledge the diversity that migrant women provide to our society. And to end, it is essential to strengthen democracy as a whole. When women from different origins are involved in the decision-taking, they make sure that public policy reflects the necessity of all population, not only of a privileged group. This is particularly important in a world that is more and more globalized, where the realities of migration and cultural diversity are a part of our society. The inclusion of our voices in institutional politics is a step forward towards a fairer and more balanced representation. I would like to welcome you all to this fourth forum on the political participation of migrant women.
Queridas amigas.
Dear friends, from Brussels, I want to send you a warm hello. I would like to be there in Valencia. I am in Brussels because this week we want to deploy urgently all the resources for the Dana victims. There are many women and migrant women and men among these victims that have to be visibilized. I want to value the work that Por Ti Mujer and the network of Latin American Caribbean women carry out. I have been working with them for many years. It is essential that we continue working with our migrant friends. More than 57% of women come on their own from the country of origin or with minors, fighting against poverty, against inequality, and this trip makes them very vulnerable and they are exposed to situations of violence. And also the moment when they come to our countries, to our societies, to the country of destination, because the reality of economic informality, of violence, of the irregularity of rights is a reality. We must continue working to visualize this reality, to fight for the rights of migrant women who work in our countries, to present the agenda of care work, and we must make sure that migrant women are represented and could represent other people. Political participation is fundamental to move forward with the rights, so we will continue working together, supporting each other. You can count on me to continue working together, to continue working together to defend more rights and more equality.
Bueno, gracias Lucy por tu...
Thank you, Lucy, for your presentation and for your love. Welcome to you all. I am Silvina Monteros. I am a part of the network of Latin women, and I will be moderating this forum today. This forum is a part of a European project that includes Latinas, Red Latinas, coordinated by Collective Les Femmes from Brussels. They are also migrants. They have migrated and they are going to share their experiences with us. And we would like to thank them with all our hearts that they have taken us into account to be a part of this group of exchanges that will be very rich. The European project is Empowerment Migrant Women, and we have a lot of work ahead in the next 2 years. They have been creating a position in the European framework. We have gone into this European framework with other projects. Thank you to Y+, which is another organization, a feminist European network that has invited us to be a part of the project We Empowered. We have just finished this project, and this also sets the basis to continue with these exchanges at the European level. So we have leaped up to the European level. So we have jumped into the swimming pool. I just want to add something to what Lucy has said. The catastrophes, the disasters always unveil the precariousness, the exploitation, and everything that is suffered by the collectives that are in a more vulnerable situation. In the network, we always say we're not vulnerable people, vulnerable women. We are women that have been made vulnerable by a system that places us in lower positions. An accident where 12 Ecuadorian men died, men who worked in agriculture in an irregular situation without a contract. This unveiled the situation of enormous work exploitation of migrant people in the world of agriculture, and this also started a mobilization of the movement of people without documents that were. We confined ourselves in churches, and thanks to this movement we achieved many of the rights we have now. And due to this disaster, we have found out the conditions of living of migrant people who live in terrible situations, with many people living in very small places, and this calamity has also unveiled the situation of migrant people. So here we are to visualize this and to continue defending the rights of migrant people, migrated people at an international level. We are now going to move on to the first panel. This is going to be moderated by Silvia Rosa Velázquez Manrique, who's a former councilwoman of the City Councils of Burlada and Pamplona and current member of the local committee of Pamplona, Secretary of Municipal Policy, Equality and Diversity of the Socialist Party of Navarra, and also a member of the regional committee of the Socialist Party of Navarra, and also she is the president of the American Circle of Navarra and vice president of the Network Woman, Red Transnacional de Mujeres. Thank you for being here, and she will be presenting the other speakers in the panel. Good morning. As I come from a region where 2 languages are spoken, Egunon. I am really grateful to the Association Por Ti Mujer and also the Latin American Red Network to give me the opportunity of being moderator of a panel where very important people, participating people who have public positions and are also part of the movement for the collective of migrants. And my support and love to the Valencian region and to all the people who have suffered enormous losses, both personal and also material losses. And from my region that I also represent, we are helping as much as we can, and we will continue helping. because solidarity is the most beautiful thing we have. It is a real pleasure to present these women. First of all, Marisol Herreño, who is the first migrant mayor of Spain. Diana Paredes, who is a MP in the Madrid Assembly for Más Madrid. Last but not least, Ana, the councillor of Más Madrid. Now we will start by Marisol. We'll start with Marisol Herreño, who is the mayor of Roblegordo in the region of Madrid. She lives in Spain. She defends human rights, and she's an activist. And she entered the political world to improve the social transformation and particularly the defense of migrant women. She's co-founder of the association Casa de Colombia and also the Latin American network of Latin American women in Spain, and she was elected mayor of Roblegordo, a municipality of the Community of Madrid, and she is the first migrant woman who is a mayor in Spain. We welcome Marisol.
Sí, me siento, ¿no? Bueno, ahora, sí, gracias.
Okay. To make this more informal conversation, we'll get together with the speakers. Marisol, we are really proud of you for being the mayor of Rodrigo Gordo, and you are an example for future generations and for the present generation. First of all, I would ask you about the barriers in political participation of migrant women, how being a migrant or belonging to an ethnic minority increases the barriers that women face in politics, and what actions do you think are necessary to solve these challenges? First of all, I would like to thank the network of Latin American women, the FEMS Collective, and also the Association Por Ti Mujer for this opportunity of sharing solidarity for migrant women, migrant people in the Dana, in Valencia, and also thanking you all for being here. Thank you for showing from our position that we couldn't even imagine we would be in a position of authority in a municipality, and we have managed to get to this position, and I want to convey this experience that I'm living on behalf of everybody. I represent all women wherever I am. You asked me about the barriers that I faced for the participation in politics. Talking about political participation, in my case, takes me to the network of Latin American women. I would not be in politics if it wasn't because of the empowerment that the network of Latin American women gave me. When I was invited to participate in this panel, first thing I did was look for documents from the Latin American Women Network that spoke about the political participation. And in 2018, we participated in some research which was led by the Alliance for Solidarity about migrant women and participation creating a favorable participation environment as political subjects. We started our research by studying what was going on in reality. And from there, we started documenting ourselves, because we always have to speak in a well-founded, informed position. And thanks to this, we found the different barriers that women have to fight for their participation in politics. And this is something that's widespread. The fear for the irregularity of an administrative position, language barriers, lack of information on how to participate, the timetables and the precariousness in work, the racist and cultural prejudices, and the lack of experience in political participation, and also the instability of migration projects. Those were all obstacles, barriers that prevented us from participating in politics. We've recently finished a study coordinated by the Y. The study is called Extending the Tools to Deal with the Barriers for Participation of Women in Democratic Life in Spain. Several feminist European organizations, we have started collaborating at the European level, and with the support of David, Romanian Lobby of Women, the Alliance for the Solidarity, and also the Network of Latin American Women, we responded to this question about the barriers that we had. And we had all the same barriers. I then looked for a bit more information. What percentage of migrant women do we have in municipality elections? And there's some research by the CIS in 2014 that says that in the elections of 23, 27, and 2011, only 0.5% of the councillors in this, they were only 0.5% of them were migrated people, and none of them managed a position as a mayor. Migrants can only pay in municipality elections. I won't get into this now, we will elaborate on this later. And focusing on the question you ask about the condition of migrated women. In order to participate in international institutional politics, we need to be nationalized. Otherwise, we would not be able to occupy a public position. Even if we are nationalized, we will always be seen through these prejudices. We will also be seen and criticized based on our country of origin, the color of our skin, our culture, and so on. And this always prevents us from participating or carrying out public service for cultural, social transformation, because we will always be seen as migrated people. We often see in our political world discriminatory expressions that come from these cultural prejudices. I must acknowledge that there's a great difference in doing politics in Roblegordo, which has 80 inhabitants, is different to making politics in big cities such as Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, Valencia. The size of the cities and the variety of political groups that expose more and more the colleagues that are in public positions in these cities, they are more and more exposed to xenophobic discourse. We want to increase the presence of migrated women in public positions. In Spain, there's no politics of quotas to promote the participation of collectives that have been traditionally marginalized. This was done, however, in the quarters that had a gender perspective. We are 14% of the Spanish population, therefore that should be the percentage of people participating in the public service. Yes, Marisol, talking about institutional violence on migrated women in the political world. Have you been a witness of situations of violence for being a migrated woman? Do you think we should develop strategies to face these situations?
Sí, definitivamente.
Yes, and definitely we need to work to improve in terms of the coexistence between cultures at all levels. There are some plans in Spain. For instance, there is an action plan for the integration and inclusion from 2021 to 2027, but it is not being implemented. So we need to be there to demand that these plans are implemented. There is also an action plan to fight racism from 2021 to 2025, but we are still being attacked. The creation of a national observatory on migrations and intercultural coexistence, for me, working on cultural coexistence is key. I'm going to tell you afterwards a little bit what we are doing from the City Council on this issue. Having a national observatory like the Basque Migration Observatory, which is a good example to follow, this is something that we will need to try to implement at a state level. Another strategy would be to implement the World Compact on Migration, which invites to consider the political and legal integration of migrant people in the society. So this is something that has been ratified, and we should make some use of it so that our quota as women and migrants in society is respected. The Agenda 2030 in its target 10.7 establishes a commitment to link organizations in the civil society and diaspora organization in the debate. That is something that we need to request. We need to be there always. Regardless of our position, we are 14% of the population. So we should, even if they want to cancel us, we shouldn't let them invisibilize us. So no policy can be carried out without a budget. If local, national and regional budgets have no resources for us, this will be just a pipe dream. These are some of the strategies to fight the institutional violence that migrant persons and specifically women suffer. Thank you, Marisol, for your participation.
Bueno, continuamos con Diana Paredes.
We are going to give the floor to Diana Paredes Choquehuanca, an MP in the Madrid Assembly. She arrived in Madrid when she was 5 years old. She studied sociology and political sciences in the Complutense University. She is part of the generation of migrant daughters that were raised in the society where their parents migrated to, but they have also felt different kinds of discrimination, racial profiling, etc. So she thinks that it's important for diversity, which already exists in society, to be reflected in political, cultural and social institutions, and mostly in the institution that she works in. Thank you. I'll answer first of all to the first question, to the barriers that we find. For me, there's a big difference. If we focus on our neighborhoods, our districts, and the cities that we live in, migrant women, to a large extent, are participating in neighborhood movements, in district activities. I always put the focus on the fight for decent housing. There's an association of people affected by mortgages in Spain, which was largely promoted by the Ecuadorian community in Spain. But if we look upwards, in terms of political representation spaces, we see that this social and political participation that exists in our neighborhoods at a lower level, it's quite different in other political spaces where there is just a really small amount of migrant people in those spaces. It's a minimal amount of people, as Marisol just said. So there is a barrier here. Migrant women have have a glass ceiling that women used to face for the fact of being women, but this has been broken. But we need to break it also in the case of migrant persons. We need to break this glass ceiling because we are affected, because we are women, we are migrants, and all the barriers that we face make our political participation more difficult. Marisol already mentioned this. What is preventing migrant women from participating in the political space? For instance, care work is something that falls in our shoulders mostly at a family level as well, and this is work that is not recognized. The spare time that we have, many times we are in a precarious situations, and migrant women have several jobs. It's important to take into account the spare time that we have for political participation. Also, the administrative situation, the administrative barriers that we face. Like people with a Latin American background need to be living here for almost 2 years, and for some nationalities we are talking about 10 years of residence. So until you can regularize your situation and have access to a list in a political party, well, this is an additional hurdle. We are also seeing the political situation being affected by hoaxes, fake news that are being disseminated through the social media. This also has an effect. The fact that there is an anti-political discourse stating that all politicians are the same, well, this is something that is coming. We are seeing this, and this is something that we will see more and more. As for the actions that we could do, more feminism to have more time, sorority among ourselves. Also, we should dignify our jobs and reduce our working time so that we have time to participate in politics. Also, we should face this anti-political discourse and make everyone see that politics are useful, that it doesn't make sense for citizens to move away from politics. As for political parties, they should have a commitment towards migrant people. We are living in a time where the right-wing discourse against migration is quite strong, is hard, so political parties need to be brave here. And this requires a commitment towards the migrant population. In the political parties, there should be mechanisms to enable migrant people to participate, to be present on the electoral tickets, but not only to cover vacant spaces or not only to fulfill the quotas. At times we've been told during the electoral campaign, well, you're just filling up a quota, just a colored spot on the electoral ticket. And political parties should see us as subjects that have their own voice. Our voice is important, not only to cover like the diversity quota. Political parties should be permeable to this reality that is already existing in our neighborhoods. Migrant workers are part of the solidarity networks in our neighborhoods. We are members of the feminist associations in our cities, etc. So, political parties should be porous and permeable to this reality. They should acknowledge the work that we are doing in our territories, in our neighborhoods.
En cuanto al marco,
As for the institutional framework, you are a representative in the representative framework. Have you seen situations of political violence? Have you felt a lack of respect? Have you seen situations like this, and what are the actions that we could implement to mitigate these situations? Well, we could spend a whole morning to talk about racist situations that we face in our daily life, but not only in our daily life, but also in institutional spaces. For instance, I am a member of the Regional Assembly of Madrid. I remember several moments. For instance, the first time that I went to the assembly, I went there to visit my political group, and I went with a colleague from the organization. I went there. I didn't have any problem then. When I went back 1 week later, they asked me why I was there. They requested me to tell them names and telephone numbers of the people I was going to visit, even if my visit was already planned. That was a hurdle, and I told them I was here last week, and they didn't care. Also, when I was going to enter the plenary room already as a regional MP, I've been stopped because they thought that I was just someone who was trying to sneak into the plenary room. I was working towards the plenary room. They start at 10 o'clock, so I didn't have much time, and they stopped me and told me, "Where are you going?" And I said, well, they told me afterwards, well, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you, but that was months after our legislature started. This is something that we see in our day-to-day, but also in our work as our opposition to the regional government. They always try to question your level of knowledge. For instance, some directives from the regional government tell me, I don't know how long you've been here, maybe you do not understand. I'm going to explain things to you, implying that maybe I do not understand things well. Well, I've been living in Madrid since I was 5. Maybe I've been living here longer than many other people that are directives in the regional government, managers in the regional government. So one of the anecdotes in the plenary, for instance, with the regional education minister, given my personal experience, well, I've school harassment is something that is really close to me. The worst racist experience that I've suffered was in a school environment. A school should be a safe space for children, but the worst racist experiences that I've had, and the ones that affected me the most, happened in a school environment or in high school. The first time I asked the regional minister of education what he was going to do to fight racist harassment in schools, he denied that racism exists. He said racism doesn't exist. Some months after that, I asked again, what is the minister going to do? We see that hate crimes are going up, especially in the region of Madrid. So when I asked again, with data on my hand, I had the national report on hate crimes. So when I asked again, and he told me, he always asks the same. He tells me, well, apparently you are using racism for your political aims, so racism is good for you to justify that you are an MP. That's what the regional minister told me in the plenary. I work on many issues in my parliamentary work, but this is a racist act. It's brutal. That's a way to tell you that you are not good enough in order to be an MP. And apparently you have to justify and use any argument to be there. And as MPs, we work on many issues, not only that. That's something that we need to face in our daily life, in my work as a member of the opposition. You are told that you are not good enough, that you just came here, that you do not understand things. As for strategies, it is important for political parties as political organizations to be there, to support you, to accompany you. That is a basic first step that needs to be made. Given what we face, what we live, we need to have the support of the political organization that we belong to. Personally, I feel the support of the migrant, anti-racist, feminist communities. That is also important, so that we do not feel alone. Feeling alone is the worst. Feeling that we are alone facing this situation in this battle, that's the worst thing you can feel. To be honest, the political arena can be exhausting, and sometimes, especially in the opposition, it can be really exhausting. So having the support of the community gives you strength to keep on fighting. Thank you very much. Now we're going to introduce Ana Carolina Díaz Espinosa. She is a city councillor in Madrid, from Salvador, lawyer, and a degree on gender issues. She has 3 years of studies in the disciplinary gender studies. She migrated to Spain in 2009. She's worked for 5 years as a houseworker and a care worker. She was also a member of the Madrid City Council. She has been the president of the Domestic Service Association for 9 years, and she is a part of the Latin American Women Network. So the first question is about the strategies that we can have in terms of political participation of migrant women. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I would like to thank my sisters in the Latin American Network for allowing me to be here to share with you. I don't have much to add after what Marisol and Diana just said. Not only given my personal experience and what I share with other migrant women, one of the main hurdles that we face is fear. Many colleagues do not want to participate in an association because they are afraid. They do not say that they are afraid, but they say, I don't want to get into trouble. And if you talk about political participation, they say, no, no, no. Of course not. They are afraid of being deported. They are afraid of being constantly exposed at a political level. And of course, they are afraid that it is not worth it. I come here with a goal. You come here to make ends meet, to support your family in your country of origin. And they want to go back to their country of origin. That's what many migrant women want. They want to get enough money for their children in the country of origin and then come back to their families. At no point are they thinking about living in Spain or having a political participation to transform society. No, that does not exist. That is not part of the goals, because the main goal is to survive. If you realize how difficult it is, maybe they think, okay, I'll work in Spain for 2 years, I'll earn money, and then I'll come back. And after 2 years, they are undocumented, and maybe they were able to pay the debt that allowed them to travel. So they say, well, when I have my documents, I'll come back. And then they have a permit of residence, but they do not have enough money. And they have even more debt, and they are just surviving here. And then they think, when I'm a national citizen, I'll go back. And then when they have their citizenship after 5-10 years, well, when they come to their country of origin to visit, they realize their children are already grown-ups, and sometimes for them the mother is not their own mother, but rather the grandmother or the aunt that took care of them. This is a great hurdle for the political participation. Many of them haven't even thought to participate in their own country of origin. So let's imagine when they come to a country where they are not familiar with the culture and they feel some rejection from society. Of course, not from everyone, because there are great people in all places that open their spaces and their hearts to you, and even their homes. And we have great allies in Spain. But, of course, with this situation, you do not think about participating politically to change things. This reduces the potential amount of migrant women that are willing to make this step. As Marisol, I made this step because I had been trained, I was empowered thanks to the Latin American and Caribbean Women Network. I also remember these first encounters, these first meetings when we were talking about political participation, and we said now the priority is the employment. Let's leave participation for the next meeting next year, because now we need to talk about employment. And then the next year we said, no, this year we're going to talk about violence. We face these different barriers as we move along, but there was a moment when we had to focus on political participation and how we can do it. We've been making these steps little by little. One of the hurdles that we face is the following. In order for you to be attractive for a political party, you need to do many things. You need to show that you can mobilize the masses of voters so that they include you in their electoral tickets. That makes things more difficult and also reduces the amount of women that can be potential candidates. I remember that right after the Infolibre Awards were given in Madrid, some women told me, look, many political parties are going to call you because of your political discourse. And maybe if I hadn't made that speech, the speech, maybe they wouldn't have called me at all. So it's important for migrant women to have these political spaces. In Mas Madrid, they said, okay, we need to open the tickets to include more migrant people, because if we want to be democratic, and that was great when they got to that point. If we get to this point, that means we are doing things well. So the ticket needs to be proportional to the population that we have. So in the next ticket we will have more people with real possibilities. But not all political parties are that open, because they tend to profit from the from the vote of migrants. We need to be careful with that, and that's an additional barrier. Again, we face barriers all the time, but I have a proposition for this point. It's not easy, and the other speakers have mentioned this already, but we need more brave women that make this step. The step to have an active political participation, not only through the ballots, not only by supporting political campaigns and events, but also to be part of the electoral tickets. Why? Because we are not enough yet. And the more we hear the voices of migrant women, the more migrant women in decision-making positions are, the more effect, the more impact we will have. In the next elections, Latin American votes are going to be decisive. Let's make this vote decisive. We are here, we are part of this society, and they need to listen to us, and we need to be given the rights that we deserve, because we are humans. Thank you.
Ana Carolina.
Carolina, the next question is for you. Have you seen or have you suffered situation of institutional violence in your case, in your space? And what are the strategies that we could use in order to mitigate those attitudes? Well, where should I start? As in the case of Diana, when Well, the first time I went to the town hall, they gave me a provisional ID that was provisional. So the other members had already entered the town hall, and well, I had my badge, and I told the security guards, "Well, I'm a city councillor," and they told me, "Well, journalists, the access for journalists is that door," and I told them, "No, this is for the plenary room. I'm a member of the city council," and they told me, "Oh, okay, then now you can go in." This happened many times. I understand that maybe they do not remember my face, but my colleagues told me, yes, they have. They need to. That's why they have your picture. We send them your pictures to make your access easier. So I was feeling, well, like they were going to send me off to the cleaning area, because they can identify us for that. That's also a form of violence.
When that becomes something regular, you start complaining. At last, after a year and a half, that doesn't happen anymore. Well, I'll just tell you the last case, the last situation. I'll tell you in detail what has happened, because this is something that we cannot normalize and we cannot accept. We were precisely last Monday in the Commission for Urbanism and Environment. I don't usually participate in that commission, but they asked me to intervene, to participate, and I had a question about some billboard that was out for the 12th of October, where an ultra-Catholic association, I can't remember its name, had put the image of one of these ancient conquistadors with this armor. They said, neither genocides nor sclavists, heroes and saints, 12th of October, happy Hispanity Day. I'm telling it this way because that's how I read it. And that was in a billboard of, well, that was in the bus stops. Everybody could see it. I thought that was an insult because there was for hundreds of years there's been a genocide in America due to this invasion. So I presented the question on how they valued that publicity, and in my participation I said that we considered that this publicity was promoting colonialism, and according to the Spanish dictionary, colonialism was related to genocide and slavery. That's what they said, and you can see that in my presentation. After my presentation, they replied, and then the councillor of Vox said, because I am personally mentioned in this participation, well, who has insulted this man? I will paraphrase what he said, more or less. This woman, each time she speaks in the, she calls us genocides. I don't know where she's from. She is not Spanish. She is paid by Spanish people, and she's making, feeding this black legend, and I recommend her to read this history book. And the councillor, who is the president of the commission, was like nodding without saying anything or complaining. One of my councillor colleagues said, how are you allowing this? I reacted at that time, and I asked the president to say, okay, so he stopped it. You must reply to the personal comment. You cannot make a deeper response than this. And my colleague, who is a speaker of Mas Madrid, he said, please this man should withdraw the words that he said, that he should apologize, because he had never been called genocide. I just said that the publicity was celebrating colonialism and genocide. I never said the Vox people are genocide. I thought that they were, but I never said it. But she said, she's from El Salvador. And I answered, I am also Spanish. Well, if you're Spanish, you should be grateful to the country that has welcomed you. That was his reply. And he would never apologize. And he started getting heated. My colleagues who were counselors, they also started to get heated. And they came out to defend me. I explained more or less the scene of what happened, because of course, believe me, I was really shocked, because I didn't know how to react to this. Because initially I said, well, what he's just said is not that serious. But then, initially, I thought, well, how can we react to this? How do we reply to this situation? This is what migrants live constantly in the streets. Do we just ignore it, or do we do something about it? We came out of that commission, everybody met with the strategy team, with the executive team, the councillors, and we discussed on how are we going to respond to this, because we're not going to allow male chauvinistic and chauvinistic insults in this institution. That's what they said. And believe me, it was surprising to get this reaction, because if we allow this in the institutions, we are going to end up normalizing it. We are going to end up normalizing this in the streets, and this is going to grow. This is going to increase. This cannot be allowed. And at that time, we made videos. We took this to the media. This was in the national news. But that wasn't the end of it, because the following day, Vox presented a proposal of not allowing the minors, non-accompanied minors that are in the minor center of Hortaleza, they didn't want to allow them to sit at the bus stops. That was really, really impressive, because I presented a video expressing my opinion against this, and the networks started really reacting really violently against me, showing images, insults that I'm not going to repeat because it's not worth it. But it was hundreds of messages on the social networks, these kind of messages. There was a campaign that had been orchestrated against me. And we have reported this campaign, and we will continue reporting it, because we cannot allow this to be normalized. This shouldn't happen to anybody. And to sum up, strategies. Well, get together, support each other, being together. One of the things that I had the privilege of, or the pleasure of saying, precisely on the Tuesday, we had a plenary meeting in the City Council of Madrid. In the intervention about gender-based violence, I talked about this type of violence, because it's another kind of violence against women, because we are women and because we're migrants. And I was very pleased, because I said to this gentleman from Vox that you are upset because I am paid as much as you and I am Spanish like you are. He got really angry, he stood up, and that hurt us so much, that I said that I am paid as much as he is and that I'm Spanish like he is, that in other commissions yesterday they continued talking about the same subject when they were talking about something else. So imagine how this hurt them. And my colleagues the other councillors say, well, what you're upset about is having a migrated woman here and having to call her Her Highness. What do I mean? We're going to have to face many situations, but they are not going to stop us. We are here. We are from America, from Africa, from Asia. We are from other parts of the world, but we are also Spanish. We are also a part of this society. And we are going to demand our rights, the rights that we deserve, because we are all contributing to this society, because we live in this society, in this country. And together, we're going to make this society better. It is already a diverse society. And within this diversity, we're going to learn how to live together. And if they don't learn, we will teach them.
Muchas gracias, Ana Carolina.
Thank you very much, Ana Carolina. It was really moving. We were really touched. These experiences is something we have all lived, we have witnessed, and we're going to continue giving more measures, more strategies for now and for the future. We're going to give the floor to the audience, to discussions, any questions the audience wants to make. What questions do you have? What would you like the speakers to elaborate on? I want to thank our colleagues for this time, for their words. Given the general confusion, I was listening to you, Carolina. We are a part of this society, and we're going to teach them. And I was thinking of my colleagues. I come from Malenechea, the Association of Migrant Women in the Basque Country. And when we're talking about political participation, when we try to light the passion for earning spaces in the spaces of political representation beyond the limitation that our colleagues have regarding the administrative position, because there's very, very few women who have been nationalized in my association. But what called my attention was when you said we are a part of the society, and sometimes we find it hard to show our colleagues that they are a part of the society. Maybe it's women who have been working in this country for many years and they still don't feel with the strength and with the will of saying, I am from here and you have to accept me and I have to fight for this. You're in Madrid, we come from very small villages. Do you have any suggestions, any strategy that you could share with us regarding this topic? Good morning, everybody. A wonderful panel with all the experiences you have shared with us. Many things have been said, how migrant women can participate. And I want to speak about the moment when we've already taken the step. We have already decided we want to participate. We have joined a political party, but these political parties have an internal democratic system where they still see us through these stereotypes. We are migrated women, and maybe they would be better at the end of the queue. How do we do this work? Because I will tell this, my experience, I have taken this step. I am a part of a political party. I have been a candidate on 2 occasions, and on the 2 occasions I've been in the middle part of the list, and in the last occasion I was at the bottom of the list. In spite of the fact that we are participating, it's difficult to be in a political party. That's not easy. We must make an effort to be heard, to have a position. We must find strategies, and it would be good that the colleagues that are already there in positions and have moved forward, how do we participate in the political party, and how can we have real possibilities of being elected and of being present? Because as Carolina said, let's take the step, but not only we have to take this step, because it's not only our own decision. You have the institutions, the political parties. They should take us seriously as citizens of this country. Good morning, my dear colleagues. Congratulations, because as my colleague has said, these are really quality roundtables, quality women who are wonderful examples, and their motivation to step into the politics. My name is Samantha Yegas. I work in the Women Collective. We have been speaking about many barriers. It is difficult to get into politics if you're a woman, and even more if we're migrant women, and there's barriers if we are black, if we wear a veil, if we are single mothers, and that is my case. I am a woman with 2 children. I am a single mother. I have spoken with some of my colleagues. I have an adolescent child who's 13 years old, and another daughter who's a bit older than that. One of the barriers that I find in Belgium, I was talking to some colleagues because we have some empowerment word. We do not feel adequate working in politics because they are not our topics, our goals. When we come here, we have other kinds of targets because, for example, building our own home or other things, but years go by, and people who are here for 15, 20 years, we have the nationality. And another of the things is the time. How do we work? How can we play with this double timetable, double workday? When you're on your own, you have children. Sometimes it's not double the working day, it's triple the working day. And with migrant women, what do you do when you don't have this network, the support network, this family? Because in our own countries, we have a mother, a grandmother, a sister, or a neighbor that can help us. And as more in the north, the society is different. It's a society that's more private, and they don't even say hello to you. How can we get into politics? Because Cecilia, who's next to me, she went into politics because she has older children. And I see that she comes back after 1 o'clock in the morning with the meetings Saturday and Sunday, all day in meetings. How can you manage to do that? Besides the work you have to do within the party in Belgium, we are struggling to make the parties to make changes within the parties so that this work is adapted to the timetable of women. So the question is for Gloria, how do you manage this? Good morning. My name is Berta Ligia Quiroz Motina. I am a part of the Hispanic American People's Association in Valencia. Thank you for sharing your experiences. I am a woman, Afro-Indigenous woman. I came here as a refugee. I've been living here for more than 20 years. I am really upset that today the European Council has taken some perverse decisions and is now denying people the possibility of requesting international protection through the Frontex program, because those people who will arrive in Spain to request international protection or asylum, the borders are going to be externalized. What does that mean? That they're going to have to go to countries with which they have conventions, agreements. Imagine this person who speaks Spanish, who has a support network in this country, different situations such as the one I had, psychological situations, psychiatric problems. Imagine this person has to go to the north of Africa to wait until the asylum request is solved. So I would like to ask my colleagues here, which work has been carried out regarding this, because this has been invisibilized, because we have centers for the internment of foreign people in Spain. There's these platforms that are trying to make these centers, trying to close these centers. We have this population, these people who are the nobodies, men, women, and non-binary people. Some people, we have to be inclusive. People have different religious beliefs, and they are pointed at, and also people with functional diversities. I would like to leave here having heard what we are doing for these people, regardless of their gender.
Que tenemos solo 20
Hola,
minutos
buenas para
responder.
todos.
My name is Carmen Valdera from the Association of Residents and Friends of Ibero-Americans, ARAD, and I want to ask the question specifically to Ana. I would like to ask her where she gets the strength to go on, because she is a good politician, but even among her own people we find barriers and attacks that prevent us from moving forward. I would like to ask her what she does to continue fighting the way she does. Good morning to everybody. It took me some time to come here because I'm from Venezuela. I haven't been here for a very long time, but when I hear speaking about political participation, I hear the participation of women because I am a woman, and I like to get together with all these people who know how important women are in all societies, in all countries. Women are women wherever they go. And that is why I'm here. And when I came here, I am really impressed because I see people who are struggling like me for the participation of women, not only at the political level, but in all areas of a country. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all because we're doing what women should be doing even before 1900s. When women died in a factory in New York, we should look for rights, emancipation, equality, a level play field with a man. Women in the past achieved the vote. Campoamor insisted that women should vote, and my question in this forum, which I want to ask you, is a question to get involved, because a woman has to be involved through women's organizations. I would like to know which strategy as a women's organization do you have to get women together within communities around groups of organized women, because a woman who gets together with people who think like her, that have the same discourse and so on, that way we will achieve not only political participation, because we should also get social participation. The first step we should learn is the situation of the society wherever you are. We need to get to know the Spanish reality, the laws of Spain, because I also asked some friends what legal progress are we carrying out to get involved in all areas. We don't all want to be politicians. We want to act in our community as empowered women, emancipated women, and women with equal opportunities.
Hola, buenos días.
Hello, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the invitation. I am Eugenia, I come from Barcelona. I am the president of the National Council of Women of Spain, and I also work in the Polytechnic University. I would like to thank you for your presentations. You have mentioned many problems that women have. Last week we celebrated 91 years of the suffragettes, and we're starting to recognize that there's parity in the positions in the political list, and that was something that was vindicated by women. We have now new requests from women because women are not represented. Something that's really, really important is that we must yield spaces in which we have over-representation. That's something that we must acknowledge and vindicate. And what I wanted to say is that we have been speaking about youth. Women in a reproductive age stop participating. You need the time, the economic capacity to be in politics. It's economic violence, not having resources to be able to participate in the public life. In Barcelona, we incorporated the law of violence, not only political violence, but also digital violence. You know that one of the challenges we have is how democracies are acting in the social networks. I want to ask you this question. I think we don't only have to conquer spaces in the media so that young people have you as models, as benchmarks. There's more and more disaffection in university, not only concerning women, but also when they see that you do not reach the first positions in the government, and that affects women. I would like to ask you what to do. I think we have to acknowledge this, we have to visualize, we have to put models for the new generations that do want to participate, but they have to be accompanied to be able to get there. We don't have much time left. That is why please be brief in your questions, or maybe leave them for later so that the speakers can give a satisfactory answer. Thank you. I would like to thank you and acknowledge the courage, but there's also an element that in the network we're always talking about the feminist anti-patriarchy approach, and on the line that the colleague is asking this triple day, how do we manage this other logic we want to break? We want to break the patriarchal logic, which is predator, colonialist, and militarist. What do we do in these really aggressive spaces in order not to lose the feminist essence as women? The last question. My question is the result of a process where we have been creating support groups of migrant women, women who are usually carrying out care work. This is something they think about when many of their processes start. Within those dynamics, women express what they feel in this process. There are two main elements that appear: what the woman thinks, what her ideas and the conditions before migrating are, and then what the woman feels when she realizes that what she had imagined corresponds with reality. I don't know if that has to do with what we are as migrants, but I always ask myself if from consulates they ever think about how the migrant woman is understanding this process, what information they have before carrying out this process, and also what we all understand from our experience, what we're facing, but we should also look into what they're feeling in this experience. There is a kind of a surprise, as if they never came across this information. There is a genesis in what the woman believes before migrating, and then what she feels throughout this migration process. And we should understand that this is the basis, the foundation on how we should start working. We should be able to cover their basic needs, but that they should also be able to think and to propose things for other women, because reality always consumes and absorbs their energy. They should know how they could participate here once they arrive. Now we're going to give the floor to the speakers so that they answer the questions.
Well, to save time, I'll be brief. I was saying that I will be brief to save time. I would like to tell you that one of the things that was hurtful from the situation that I've lived this week is a reaction of some women, of some colleagues, because, I mean, you get message of hatred from unknown people. I'm not affected by that, but well, these people talk with impunity in social media, and also some politicians, they talk with impunity, so they get more and more brave because of that. That's what I would like to stop. But one colleague, a woman, said the following: "What's Carolina complaining about? Well, she knew what she was getting into when she got into politics, and she was also a racialized colleague. Sometimes we lose our empathy, and people say, well, she's there, she's earning her salary, a good salary, and sometimes people forget, and we need to remind ourselves what this means, and it's not easy. For me, in order to be strong, I had the support of my political party. The immediate response of my party, they said, let's take care of Carolina. Maybe in the plenary there will be racist comments again. What should we do in that case? That was great, especially because for me this shows that there are more good people in Spain than bad people. There are more good people that want to have social justice. There are more people who accept diversity. And there are more good people in Spain who want to be here to build a better society for everyone. And it's just a few who support these hate speeches. Unfortunately, these people have a lot of political support and use the media to disseminate this hatred, but they are not going to stop us. It's not just me, it's all the women, not only the 300,000 people who voted my party in my region. It's a lot of people who want to participate in the social formation. For me, this meeting was great. It came in the right moment because since I came, I've been hugged by women I wasn't able to hug before. I've felt this support. Also, people I didn't know from other spaces. I've kept with my institutional work, and some people I didn't know came to me. They told me, "You don't know me, but I'm supporting you in the social media. Keep on with the good work," and that's where I get my strength. Again, thank you, sisters, for being with me.
Vale. Bueno, yo por intentar responder un poco de todo, porque además.
Well, I think that the answers, to a certain extent, are interrelated with the issue of time. We live in a society in which feminism and anti-racism is winning many battles, but we are still living in a structure that is male chauvinist, racist, patriarchal, and that is something that is horizontal in our communities and political organizations. Perfection does not exist. We would be kidding ourselves if we thought everything is perfect. I always say that being a feminist and being anti-racist is something that we need to do every day. This is something that we need to do from the point of view of the deconstruction. It's not just about saying I'm a feminist, I'm an anti-racist. It's not enough. Deconstructing meaning examining yourself constantly. Political organizations should do that as well. They need to do an exercise to deconstruct themselves and become feminist. And this will come with time. In Mas Madrid, we respect the times a lot, our time. For instance, I have my daughters, but there are colleagues who also have more daughters. We try to respect our time, to have time for educating our children and also the workers of the political organization. That is an exercise. This allows us to have the time and the trust to be there. Also, so that our maternity is respective and accompanied with responsible paternities. This is something I value a lot from my political organization, the fact that I am respected, the fact that I have time to with my daughters like everyone needs. Take your time. If you need to disconnect, just do it. As I just said, this is a heavy burden at times. And at family level, well, I need to mention my mother. I'm fortunate to have her with me. Also, the responsible paternity of the father, as I said before. Feminism needs to be there because paternity should be responsible so that we, as women, have time. Paternity should be done responsibly so that we can use our time. And also, Political organizations should be deconstructed in this sense, and this will help migrant women so that they have more time to participate politically. Well, political participation, democracy within political parties.
Dos cosas para favorecer también la participación.
We need to do things to make participation easier. Internal democracy within political parties and participation mechanisms, but this needs to go hand in hand with a commitment with migrant people from political parties. Maybe we can be on the electoral tickets forever and we never make it there. This is something that needs to happen. And we need a clear commitment because we need to be there. As for digital violence, I wasn't aware of this, but after my political participation started, I became aware of the political violence in the social media. I was at first quite shocked because every video posted, there was a reaction from far-right haters. We cannot normalize political violence. The president of the region of Madrid said some words to one of our colleagues. She said, "We don't cry here, we cry at home." That's a kind of violence that is being normalized, or the fact when they tell you this comes with your political position, that means normalizing violence. That's something we should not accept. We need also to democratize social media. They need to become more feminist, and unfortunately social media are not like that at all. That's why we need legislation to establish some limits. What we are seeing is not tolerable. It's not acceptable. Social media needs to be more democratic, and anti-racism and feminism should be present there. Thank you. We need to stop here because there is a break planned. We will have the time to talk about these concerns afterwards too.
A ver aquí, les iba
Well, I was just going to say that I have a short video, but we do not have the time, so we'll see it after the break. But just briefly, and to summarize, political participation starts with social participation. If we are not present in local association, working from the grassroots, if we do not denounce these situations, we won't be able to start. We need to be able in political parties in order to make political decisions. So we need to be there in order to make the step to the political space. So first, social participation. Let's get close to the associations in Valencia. We have several. We have Por Ti Mujer. So also being present in political parties. We also face discrimination here, but we need to resist. I changed my political party because my position was kind of cancelled, and I moved to another political party because that was the way to make things happen. So there are some small towns where Nobody is a candidate to be a mayor. No one wants to make decisions. And I said, okay, I want to be in the political ticket, and they put me the first in the electoral ticket. So I was elected as mayor. It was quite a surprise.
Y estando allí,
And now there I have power. My first decision was to make migrant women in our town visible. So what I did was to invite them to know their mayor, the migrant mayor, migrant women living in Robregordo. Out of the 80 inhabitants in Maui town, 30% are migrants, 7 nationalities in a small town.
participando.
And now they are participating. I've heard their needs. For instance, Spanish lessons. Now we provide Spanish lessons. There's a colleague who is the community mediator. She does a great job. I make decisions about other things in the city council, but this mediator works with people. So I invite people to come visit and get to know me. We also try for people living in our town to be visible, to participate, to be equals in terms of rights. For instance, they did not even participate in local festivities. The last thing I did is promote co-responsibility. We have a project that was recently approved for the work-life balance, so that women have also space to participate. It's important for us to be there, but mainly we need intercultural coexistence policies. That's the way to go. We need to work at the social and political level and make migrant women visible.
Listo, ¿no?
Gracias.
Mujeres, migrantes, visibles y con derechos.
Mujeres, migrantes,
Visibles y con derechos. Muy bien.
Gracias.
Thank you.